Harris Zambar Lucas, cinematographer for Belfast, out this month from Focus Features. Harris, I want this is including Death on the Nile, which obviously comes out next year. Belfast is one of 8 films that you've made with Kenneth Branagh as director. How early in the process does he come to you to talk about it, and specifically with Belfast? Like when did you get brought into the conversations about it?
We started talking about a potential film during lockdown. So we would have these almost 2 weekly conversations, just checking up on each other. We had just wrapped Death on the Nile, and Ken was doing his post, and then COVID started. We were actually meant to go to Egypt for some additional beauty shots, and we were meant to fly it on March the 11th. So that got cancelled, obviously, or at that time postponed. But we had these great conversations over lockdown, just checking up on each other. And Ken said, I am diligently writing every day from 9 o'clock. I go to my little shed and I write, and I've got something. I don't want to say anything about it because I want you to read it with fresh eyes. But we did talk about our desire to make something really swiftly after the world opened up again, that it felt like this would be something good for us, good for the film industry, and that let's turn this into an opportunity to make something personal and to gather our crew, our family of crew, and make something quite personal. I have to say, Chris, I didn't know what to expect, but I had a suspicion it might be something like our first film we made, which was Sleuth, that was just 2 people in a room. I thought that's so COVID safe. And all that while we'd be talking about COVID protocols. And then Ken sent me the script to read and said, we're off. And first of all, it was such a moving script. I was so proud of him as a friend, not just the director, but that, most of us accomplished, I don't know, a little bit of baking during lockdown. He'd actually written this absolutely spectacular script. And then it sunk in that it was quite a complex film with riot scenes and a young actor, an 85-year-old vulnerable actor who happens to be a national treasure. It all sunk in. And we started prepping that way. So I would say very, very early on. But I was given at least the opportunity to read it without any explanation, which I thought was really good.
So for those who don't know, the film is obviously a coming-of-age kind of autobiographical film that Kenneth wrote, and like you said, young actor Judi Dench is in it as his grandmother, and Jamie Dornan as his father, Catriona Balfe as his mother, and Ciarán Hinds as his grandfather. It's a black and white film. It's beautiful photography. I wanted to ask you about like the decision to do it in black and white and the style of black and white. It's so crisp, for lack of a better word, and like it's so bright, and a lot of scenes set during the day. And I just want obviously there are probably a lot of different ways you could have gone with the black and white photography and how it looks. How did you come up with that look, and what were those conversations like?
Well, the film is not just black and white. There is some color and some black and white mixed with color in the same scenes. So that is a process that we had done in the past. It was just in Death on the Nile starts off in black and white and in French. But it was a small portion of it. In this case, we are predominantly black and white. When I read the script, I asked Ken, so do you think we should shoot this in black and white? For many reasons that I'll go into, that we've already kind of have a language of black and white that we've maybe expressed in the past. And he said, I think so, but I would like to do some color as well. Regarding the black and white, kind of my feeling about black and white versus color is really one of selection process for the audience, i.e. that we as filmmakers would have a certain amount of control about the information that the audience receives. And I find color to be very, very descriptive and fantastic in immediately giving you information. It immediately tells you the color of someone's hair or the time of year, etc. but it's quite a lot of information. And I believe in telling a story that you need a certain brevity and minimalism, and that this isn't just in color versus black and white. This is something we express with Ken in how we block a scene together, how we kind of are quite minimalist in the movement and in the way we space actors apart rather than close together, and try and keep them apart until there seems to be a dramatic need to move. So black and white for this film helped us basically make a stiller film, and one where we felt it was more lucid and more immersive in its portrayal of the emotion. We felt that you could feel what the actors felt a little more deeply in black and white, and that's one of black and white's attributes. It will not create a feeling or an emotion that is not there. It helps the audience see it in a more lucid way. And it also has a slightly transcendental kind of quality in that it could be both have naturalism and be magical at the same time. It could almost be evocative of memory rather than the present. So all those qualities were things that we felt that we you know were an attribute to the film. And in the past, really, when color came in, you had an opportunity to make films either in color or black and white. It was a choice. And in stills photography today, you could choose to take a portrait in black and white, and that might give you an insight into the human condition of the person you're portraying in a more lucid way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's incredible. You mentioned like the emotion of the film. I want you, and you mentioned having like a young actor. Jude Hill plays Buddy. It's kind of standing. He's obviously like a young actor, newcomer. It's such a great performance, and I think like the movie, not necessarily, it really works so well because it's like you're capturing such like it feels so genuine, the performance. And I guess as a cinematographer, when you're working with a young, inexperienced star, especially alongside like such talent that is in there, like how do you go about like drawing those kind of performance that helping Jude get to that level of performance? Or is it like what were your tricks, I guess, or just in general like what you try to do?
Well, first of all, Jude is a natural, so he didn't really need a lot. You just have to capture it. The only thing that we kind of tried to tutor him a little bit towards was just not looking at the camera. He would just love to. I think he was so fascinated by the camera that he was drawn to it at certain moments. But I would say that the cast, Kenneth, and the crew, and I really applaud all the crew for this, made a very, very comfortable environment for a child. We looked at it, through either our experiences as parents or as human beings, where you make an environment that is just safe and polite and nurturing. And I think that's just, I believe, the human nature that exists in, and that in crews, and that they do a lot even in their silence, and that we should commend our crews for things like that. They make it comfortable for a child to perform. And that's important. But it all stems from the top. I mean, Ken made it very safe for us to work under these conditions. He took such care in the protocols when there were no history of it. So I think that triggered down. The cast also was fantastic and encouraging. In terms of kind of a little bit of trickery there, I would say we would often pretend it's a rehearsal and run the camera. So we also had a kind of silent code of turnover. He's so sharp though, Jude. He soon recognized that there was a little red camera on the camera, a little red light on the camera. So we taped that up and masked it as best as we could. Again, from my crew, I'd be like winking or something because they were fixing something in the background or removing something, or and that would mean just get out of the frame, please, as quickly as you can. And I know there are moments in the film like that. I would also say that we set the frame up in a certain way, quite wide and quite still, that allowed for things to happen within the frame without forcing it too much. And we played a lot of things by windows because it was more COVID safe. We played people away from each other and not facing each other in these kind of vignettes for that. We used available light pretty much 90% of the time. So if the weather changed or the clouds rolled in or dappled light came in, we would make sure that the effects of it were framed up in some area so that it became part of the scene. That gave a kind of floatiness in a way to scenes. We looked at it as if we were fly on the wall kind of photojournalists inspired by Magnum, that we could be as exquisite in our framing while being invisible in our presence during the film.
Yeah. No, that's really great, Harris. Harris Stambar-Lucas, cinematographer for Belfast, Kenneth Branagh's new film. I feel like we can talk about this for so long, but we do have to wrap up. Thank you so much, Harris. I appreciate it. Thank you.